Word, if we can, with Michael Rutter and John Reynolds, the men who are fighting each other as they have been all season long. First of all, Michael, it's hard to go any other way but to go for it, isn't it, really, today?
Yeah, same as every other meeting, though, you know, but all we can hope is JR has a bit of a mistake or it breaks down, really, and then we put it down to the last race and hopefully we can beat him and go into the top 8.
There's a lot of changes to the track, the new surface and all the rest of it. It's not as abrasive, they're saying. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, it isn't. It's a lot smoother, and that's why lap times are a bit quicker, but actual surface grip, it's definitely down.
Okay, well, do you feel in the heart of hearts that you can? I mean, you never know. I mean, it's happened to Suzuki before. We just already heard that in the programme. Obviously, breakdowns happen in this sport.
Yeah, nothing's over till he's won that championship, you know. He's got to be very unlucky, mind you, but hopefully we just keep the pressure on, see what happens.
Keep your head down, Blade.
Thank you.
Let's move on to John Reynolds, because as I said, it's well, basically his to lose, obviously, at this stage. And we heard there from Paul Denning, and it happened once before, but John's been here before, in fact twice before. Of course, he took on Hizzy for a title not that many years ago, and of course Brian Morrison, I think it was, you were telling me, but this is completely different. You've done it the hard way this year.
Yeah, it's never easy though, is it, Jonathan? You know, it's right down to the wire, and we're just going to go out there and see what we can do.
Is it a strange situation because, in a weird way, it's yours to lose? You don't really want to go out and win the race, you just got to get so many points, or do you even think about it?
Yeah, I've just got to go out there and attack, really. You know, there's no point in trying to look after any position because there's too many fast riders behind me, so, you know, I'm just going to go out there and try and win the front if I can.
Are you going to try and win it, or try and just stay for points?
If I've got a chance of winning it, I will.
That's what I like to hear. Well, listen, good luck. John Reynolds, obviously, they're not got to score millions of points to win the title, but he's got to be so careful because it's a double-edged sword. In terms of the track temperature, it's 27 degrees at the moment, slightly chilly as it was before, but as we've said, the surface of the actual track could be very interesting today.
With a bit of luck, but there's a lot to ride for. Now then, where is Kagayama? We were looking down the road for Kagayama as Emmett comes to the grid, last of all on the front row. Keeping an eye out. I think Kagayama has gone down into pit lane, and I have no idea why that is, as we are about to come under a green flag here, and it is Kagayama who will start at the very back of the grid. He won't be allowed surely to come round behind these. He certainly won't be allowed to come round behind these because we are about to come under orders now. The warm-up lap is done, waiting for the penultimate race of the 2004 series. Gets underway, Kieran Ari gets a flyer, so does Rutter. They have got to do that on the HM Plant Hondas, and Sean Emmett finds him mired back with Hawk Kawasaki. Around the outside goes John Reynolds, not a place to be at Redgate, that's for sure, on the opening lap. So Reynolds taking a bit of a risky strategy as they're down Hollywood now. He's split the two Kawasaki's already, dropping down towards the old hairpin. That is
big
down
one. It's Kieran Clark, is it?
It is Kieran Clark. Goes down as another. That's difficult for Mara Brown. Mara Brown goes grass tracking at over 120 mile an hour.
That was just a cold tyre in the left part of Craner there. It's a typical accident. The track temperature is down today. It's cooler than it has been all weekend. But poor old Kieran Clark just caught him out there.
Kieran Clark, well, he was caught out at Alton Park as well. He had all sorts of shenanigans going on there as Kieran Ari leads from his HM Honda plant. Man, and again under pressure, Emmett got a Kawasaki right underneath him. Reynolds has got to try and keep his nerve. He's in 6th place at the moment. He only needs an 8th place, of course, overall to take this championship. But here comes the pace car. We've got a safety car out on the track then, so they're all going to have to slow down and bunch up behind the safety car, and that of course gives us the usual problem. It's out there for too long, which right now it looks like it's going to be. We're going to have a situation where the tyres are cooling down, and the left hand side of this track, as you go through the transition, it's really difficult on the opening lap because you've had no heat in that left hand. I'll tell you what, it looked like he was tripped up more than anything. The rear end was round on him, so it looked to me, Neil, it came into shot.
It could be the case, but really, as you change direction there, the rear end of your bike goes light because the weight transfers to the front and you get back on the throttle at the same time, and it is a classic corner for that sort of crash. Normally everybody has one crash there in their career and they never do it again.
I don't know who the other person was that fell down there. I'll have to try and find out exactly who it was. That there were two bikes actually down on the track. This is Mara Brown. He went grass tracking at a right old rapid rate of knots. And the safety car will be out in front of everybody now, but that looks to me like a retirement from Mara Brown. So Paul Brown, former 250 Top Gun here in Great Britain, found himself with a 2-year sabbatical, came back into racing in the latter part of this season. He's really done very, very well on the ETI Ducati. Still a lot of junk down there on Craner. Well, that is, of course, for those of us that have been down at Craner Curves, it's known as the Craner Club. It's one of the fastest corners to leap off on, and if you're unlucky, you rejoin the track going under the bridge, and you're in all sorts of trouble down there. So, big crowd here at Donington Park today. We're on lap 2 of 20 under the pace car, and you can hear the pace car. Well, at least he's trying hard. Wheel spinning.
I'm surprised how spaced out these guys are. I'll be closed right up.
Well, of course, the lights are on the pace car. He won't come in until after he's turned the lights off, and they're on now, so he's going to do another lap yet, as far as word. That's Kieran Clark. Kieran Clark, he's had some big beatings this year, really. The Colin Appleyard Hydrex-sponsored Yamaha run out of Rob Mack's Virgin Mobile camp up in Lincolnshire. Reynolds checking out the lie of the land behind him, keeping an eye on what's going on and around. We take a look. It's all clear now at Craners. We'll have to take a look and see if the pace car's got the lights out. It hasn't. It's still got them on, so it looks pretty much like it's going to do another lap. Yep, they're still on, so there's another lap to go yet, and that will be, well, consternation for these riders, because all the time they spend behind this pace car, despite the fact that it is a fast pace car. Oh, there you go, that's the reason why it's going to do another lap. So, fact is despite the fact you can hear squealing tyres from the pace car, this is less than cruising pace for the bikes behind it, and the tyres all the time just a degree or two less. As we look at Paul Denning, you saw the HM Plant Honda of Rutter weaving from side to side, trying to keep heat in the tyres. And behind them, yes, it was Scott Smart. We're looking at John McGuinness, the other Hawk Kawasaki rider in the middle there. I didn't get a glimpse much of Glenn Richards is back in 6th place on bike 75.
Kageyama's just heard that Kageyama is out in his spare bike, so he must have had a problem with his number 1 bike on the warm-up lap. Jump bikes in the pit lane, of course, Staggs from the back of the grid. Sorry, Staggs from the pit lane. This will actually help him because he can't close up a little bit.
So, Kianari, Rutter, Smart, Emmett, Reynolds, Richards. That is how they are behind the pace car. They aren't obviously allowed to change their places until the pace car pulls in. Thomas Hill and Mason, 7th, 8th and 9th. James Hayden in 10th place. He will be unhappy about that. James Buckingham in 11th, the best of the privateers so far. And then Martin, another privateer right up behind him in 12th place at the minute. Now, Kianari basically has control of this. The safety car is coming in this lap. It says on my monitor the lights will go out soon. And as soon as the lights are out, these boys will realise that it's coming in and they will pick up the pace. But Ryuichi Kianari, he is able to control the grid and the restart. No one can pass until after the start-finish line. That is the rule. If anybody makes a pass before the start-finish line, it's a bit difficult to do here at Donington because you're coming out of a bottom gear dead stop left-hander onto it. So through Fogarty's we go, the chicane, 2 more corners, and then we will be back up to race pace.
These guys have to be careful now. They've had a couple of laps at a very slow pace, so the tyres cool down, they're not up to working temperature, and of course that left-handed craner is crucial to get through there on the left side. Not too many left-handers around this Donington Park GP circuit, so the guys have to be careful on the opening lap.
Here we go then, pace car will pull in after this corner, and then it will be up to Kianari to keep control of the pack behind him. The HM Plant Honda teammate of his, Michael Rudder, right up behind him. Rudder has got to win this race if he's to stand any chance. Green flag, then in comes the car. Kianari winds up the wing, the rest of them, well, straight in his slipstream, of course. Michael Rudder looking for the inside line down the Walthred Gate now, if he can get it. Still behind him is Scott Smart, the Hawk Kawasaki, but up the inside of him comes Sean Emmett, and he gets that 3rd place. So Sean Emmett, great restart from Sean Emmett as well, and behind him is, yes, it is Smart, and then it's John Reynolds, of course, on the Rizzo Suzuki, down through Hollywood and the first part of Craners. This is the tricky bit when they fall over onto the left-hand side, asking for so much grip from the left-hand side of that tyre. Up the inside goes Richards on Reynolds, so Reynolds goes back another place now. That will put Reynolds back into 6th place in this race. He needs to finish 8th or above to take the championship, I remind you.
Glenn Richards really back to form this weekend. His fitness coming back almost to 100%. Been really strong through qualifying, of course, ending up with that front row 3rd place grid position. So Glenn Richards on for a couple of good results this weekend, and it'd be great to see him have a good end to the season. I know he's on a few teams' shopping list for next year, and a couple of podiums would do no harm at all. I actually heard Sean Emmett, I know he's had a tough season with the Monster Mob team, but he's on a few team shopping lists as well.
Oh, and there goes Glenn Richards. Well, out. There's 2 people that I want to see do great in this race. 75 Glenn Richards. He really has made a comeback after that broken arm, and he's still struggling with the fitness of it. So Glenn Richards, we can see him do a good ride, but Sean Emmett deserves one too. Reynolds slips up the inside as well at Melbourne. So at the Melbourne hairpin, Reynolds regains that position from 88 Scott Smart, who slipped back behind, of course, the Hawk Kawasaki's. Well, certainly Scott Smart struggled at Alton Park. He really did have a minger of a weekend, for want of a better phrase. Dean Thomas, 12 on the Sendo Dienza Ducati, is in the back of the frame as well. Then you can see Tommy Hill on bike number 8. and they are in 7th and 8th places respectively.
Tommy Hill turned around his qualifying performance a little bit. He was the worst Yamaha qualifier, but at the moment the best Virgin Yamaha in the race.
Oh, I tell you what, number 36 James Hayden is under an investigation for overtaking under a safety car, so James Hayden might find himself in big trouble regarding that, and so is Chris Martin, the privateer on the Car Masters Racing Suzuki. So those two boys might find themselves with a penalty at the end of this investigation that is underway at the moment. This is the battle for third place. Still, it is Chianari off the front, Rutter in second place now. The two HM Plant Hondas, well, they've looked dominant through practice, and you've got to say from their performance in the restart here of race 1 today, it's looking good, but it needs to be the other way round for Rutter. Really, he needs to be in the leading position. 25 points, of course, for a win. 20 second place, 16 for third, 13 for fourth. Then it's 11, 10, 9, 8, and all the way down to 15th place. They score points. And of course, Reynolds will be getting a pit board that will tell him Rutter is only on the 20-point position. Reynolds doesn't need to fall over, though, and that is a place if you make a mistake. Mind you, Neil Mackenzie, you will be absolutely aware, and I'm sure John's been instructed, he's not going to let his focus fail him. He's got to go out there and race as if it meant everything, as if he was going to win the race. You can't be conservative, can you?
He has to concentrate on just doing business as normal, racing at the front, and that's exactly what he wants to do. He wants to race at the front. He has to stay out of trouble. Two Kawasaki's there sandwiching them as they go round. Goddard's there, but he really just has to keep his focus. He's not going to try and finish back in it, because he'll end up racing with riders he's not normally racing with on a weekend, so he really has to just keep things together. But of course, Sean Emmett, he won't give what's it about the championship,
you held your breath there.
Can't really mess with him.
Definitely held your breath there. Look at Chianari out there, new lap record, 1:32.386. Well, there's only one man I can remember that's gone much faster than that on the Superbike, and that was the late, great Steve Hislop, but it wasn't in the race, so it didn't count as a lap record, of course.
Yeah, these two guys at front, HM Plant Hondas, they're the only two bikes in the race on the Michelin tyres, and of course Michelin have got the majority of the riders in MotoGP, and they've been here in July at the GP, so they've got a ton of testing time, they've got a ton of feedback, and they really have got some good information on this new Donington Park surface.
Although you've got to say, Dunlop in Grand Prix terms have been very, very successful around this racetrack.
Not with this surface.
Not with this surface, agreed, I'll grant you that, but I'm just trying to talk it up. Lap 6 of the 20 then, still Chianari out by a second over Rutter. Emmett in third place, Reynolds, Richard, Smart, Thomas, Hill, Mason and Hayden. But remember, Hayden is under investigation, although I've got to say that it looks pretty much to me like that's been sorted out, because we've got nothing on our monitor to say that Hayden's got a penalty. Still 5 Monster Mob Ducatis. Sean Emmett, he really does need a result here if he can get one, because well, he's got to sign for a team in 2005, and we're going to start talking about 2005 throughout today, because really the musical chairs have begun in earnest. Rumours all over the place of who's going where.
It looks like John Reynolds on the Rizla Suzuki. He's settled down a bit, he's stayed out of trouble, and he's not letting Sean Emmett get away. That last lap, John did a 1:33.6, and Sean was actually 0.3 of a second slower.
Well, if it wasn't for Chianari's lap record, you'd say it was all a little bit subdued out there after the opening couple of laps, because well, it kind of defies just how quick these guys are going at the moment. Everybody seems to be just making their way round as we go through 1/3 distance. Thomas, Hayden and Hill, 7th, 8th and 9th. Surprise as well, Dean Thomas on bike number 12, the Sendo Dienza Ducati. Would have really liked to see him have a bit of a result here.
Sorry, Keith, just noticed that Steve Plater's not here, and could have been Steve Plater that also went down at Craner.
Good spot, yeah, on the monitor here. We didn't see where Steve Plater went. He might have been unlucky as well. That is the predicted points at this position in the race. So if everybody stays where they are at the moment, John Reynolds is on 4:33, Rutter on 3:97, and that'll do it nicely. Thank you very much. It will be John Reynolds, the Think British Superbike champion. Here he goes then, powers that Rizla Suzuki up the inside of Sean Emmett. Emmett has to pick it up, and Reynolds, smooth as you like. Paul Denning, well, no anxiety in his face at this moment in time, if we can see it, of course. But through has gone Reynolds neatly and tidily, and they're queuing up behind him. All that Reynolds has got to watch out for, if anything, is that nobody trips him up. Of course, they're not going for the championship, they're just trying to consolidate their positions as they are at the moment and look good for sponsors for 2005, and Emmett needs it more than any other, but Reynolds just seems to have got that nice, neat little break on his pursuers now.
That was a nice solid pass down there into the Melbourne hairpin, and I know this morning warm-up JR was struggling down there. He said his bike was backing in a lot. So he stiffened up the front suspension and let the rear down a little bit just to adjust that. He said it would make the steering a bit more heavy, but he'd rather have that than the bike backing into corners.
Ryoichi Kiyanari extending his lead at the front. Is up to 1.35 seconds now. So Ryoichi Kiyanari, if there are any team orders at HM Plant Honda, they're only going to come into play right at the very end of this race, and only, I would imagine, if it counts as far as... oh, look at that, he's got dirt all over his tyres. So, Kageyama has got dirt all over his tyres, so he's obviously been through a sandpit somewhere.
He is having a nightmare of the weekend. In the final official qualifying yesterday, he went off at the same spot at Coppice Corner twice. First time, possibly his fault. Second time, maybe there was something on the circuit, but exact same spot, so he had hardly any laps at all. Oh, Glenn Richards, a big moment out there.
Yeah, he's asking for a lot out of there. It's almost a dead stop turn as he wants the power on as early as he can to get up and over the hill. And Glenn Richards then, the Australian, just trying to get a great result towards the end of this season. Still Kiyanari from Rutter, 1.3 last time round. We're waiting for our monitor to click over here. Reynolds still in third place on the road at the moment, but of course in the lead of the championship. He is going to be crowned champion if he finishes anywhere near like this position at the moment. 1.7 seconds now, Kiyanari's lead over Rutter. Reynolds a further 5.8 seconds back on Rutter. So Reynolds doing it all right, got a bit of a buffer over Emmett, Richards, Smart. Dean Thomas is still 7th on bike, 12.36. Hayden is on bike in 8th place at the moment. Number 6, Gary Mason, 9th, and Tommy Hill, number 8 on the other Virgin Mobile Yamaha, back in 10th place. James Ellison, the champion of the Superbike Cup for the independent teams, leads the Superbike Cup boys here at the moment. He's in 11th place overall, but leading the Superbike Cup men. So lap 9 of 20. Not a lot of action going on out of the track. The HM Plant Hondas have made it look very boring from the way they're riding out the front at the minute.
I really think the Michelin guys have an advantage when conditions are dry. They just seem to have been gripping all weekend. Both Rutter and Kiyanari, especially Kiyanari, has just had the best package from day one on Friday.
You've got to take your hat off to John Reynolds though, again, just easing away from Emmett comfortably, doesn't want to spin tyres up, wants to stay. If he could stay with 5 seconds either side of him, I'm sure he'd be happy to do that, Neil. He just doesn't want anybody around him, wants to ride his own race, get this championship over and done with, and then he can go for a win, possibly in race 2. Certainly, I'm sure he'll want to go out with a win if he can. Yeah,
I'm sure he was on tenterhooks. Well, he has been all weekend. I know he says he just hasn't been able to sit still because he's been so aware of what's at stake.
Oh,
hairpin there.
Yeah, down at the old hairpin.
Craner.
He's gone over at Craner's.
That's Kageyama.
Yukio went. So Yuki took the long route, and that really is a long route where he's gone off. Well, it must have been a good save, just the fact that he's still actually glued on the motorbike. But heart in mouth time again for Kageyama here. Really, he doesn't want to end his season with any injury. He's done a magnificent comeback this year after those injuries he got at Kettle Park last year. And we hope we're going to get Kageyama back again in 2005. In fact, I've got to ask you, Neil, right now, you must have a bit of an inside line. Reynolds, it certainly looks like he's going to sign again for Paul Denning and the Crescent team, but what about Yukio?
Well, John Reynolds definitely hasn't signed at the moment, but of course once he owns that number 1 plate, then there's a good chance that Suzuki will want it and JR will want to keep it at Suzuki. But Kageyama is employed by the Suzuki factory in Japan, and they haven't decided what his destiny, what his future is for 2005. So until that is decided, we won't really know who's JR's teammate will be for next year.
Well, teammates, of course, are always a pain in the neck. The first pain in the neck you've got is your teammate, and Glenn Richards has just seen Scott Smart slide under him out through McLean's, and really, Glenny just gets a little bit tired as the race goes on. Not that you would notice as he slides back underneath Smart at Fogarty's S's.
Very evenly matched this weekend, as you said. Glenn Richards getting back to fitness, but Scott Smart hasn't had his blistering form like he had in the mid part of the season. But these two guys want to show each other who's the boss.
We're going to see a lot more Kawasaki's in next year's series, of course. ETI are going to run the Kawasaki next year. MSS Discovery are coming up into the Superbike class. They will be running the big Kawasaki's in Superbikes as well. And there are various other privateers that are running ZX10s too. So a very popular machine for 2005. And I think Hawk Kawasaki, really front runners, they have shown just what you can do with a dead stock motorcycle at the beginning of the year. It still had the key in it, looked a box stock standard, didn't it?
Well, you know, as a standard road bike, the ZX10 is probably the most race-like bike. It is a real weapon as a road bike, and obviously builds very well into a full superbike, and probably the cheapest and most economical bike to do that. But Stuart Aiken and the Hawk Kawasaki team this year have proved that they can build a competitive bike.
but they're going to have some real competition in the eyes of other Kawasaki owners in 2005. Meanwhile, well, we wonder whether he'll be on a Kawasaki next year. Sean Emmett, perhaps he'll sign for Alistair Flanagan's ETI team. Certainly Alistair Flanagan rates Sean Emmett. Sean Emmett, if he can only keep his head on the job throughout the entire year, is a brilliant rider. And really, I mean, certainly from me personally, I wish him all the luck with 2005. I hope he gets a good berth, and I think we haven't seen the last of Sean Emmett yet, that's for sure.
No, he's always got a point to prove, and I think Sean Emmett will be back next year, and I think, like you say, if he gets the right team, the right package, he'll definitely be a force to reckon with as far as the championship goes. Remember, a couple of years he jumped the Rob Max bike, the R1 Yamaha, and he did 32s round here, so he knows how to get a Yamaha to work.
Right now, though, he's on a Monster Mob Ducati. It's the last, well, but one ride for him on Paul Bird's Monster Mob season. And actually, Birdie and co, they're going home this weekend without any championships. No Superbike, no Supersport. That's the first time for them that they've had to go back with without any trophies at all at the end of the year. But there is a big party tonight from Birdie's team in the paddock, so nice to see that he's taking it, well, shall we say, relaxed about the fact that they've not got any silverware to be taken back after today.
Maybe he's glad it's over.
Good point. Lap 12 at 20. Still Emmett in 4th place at the moment with the two Hawk Kawasaki's of Scott Smart on 88 and 75. Glenn Richards hanging on in there behind, but I think Glenn Richards again is looking tired. And the problem is that his arm will not lock out. His arm that he broke so badly at Thruxton earlier on in the year will not lock, which means that the other arm is having to compensate for it and carry all the weight of his body. And round Donington Park, it's quite a tough racetrack here. Don't get a lot of time for a breather.
Makes it difficult for braking. The braking is really key at Donington. It's really hard on brakes, really hard on the front end of the bike. I've just been watching Kianari's times and he's so consistent. 32 is pretty much every lap of the race, high 32s, and the other guys are 33s, mid 33s.
James Ellison in the Superbike Cup is well stretching his lead now. He's moved up ahead of Tommy Hill on the factory Virgin Mobile Yamaha. So James Ellison on the private Yamaha has moved up into 10th place overall. Remember, he's also Pirelli shod, and despite the fact Pirelli are making great strides into Superbikes, they are still not a better tyre than Dunlop or Michelin at this point in the season. I'm going to get a smack from Eddie Roberts for that, I know.
James Ellison, unbelievable season, really won the Privateers Cup, raced in World Superbike, and he's doing the final 4 races in MotoGP with the WCM outfit. So busy old season for him, but I just like the way he just likes to go and race bikes, and as he said, that's the best way to get fit and the best way to gain experience. So well, James Ellison, definitely something. He scored the first hit of the weekend, of course, by running over our pit announcer Larry Carter. So Larry Carter and the team, Bernie Tolman told me that they did more damage to the Gentin Racing Yamaha by hitting Larry Carter in pit lane than they've done when he crashed at the World Superbike round. And believe me, Larry Carter looks like he's been running. He looks like he's run over with a truck or done a few rounds with Mike Tyson, certainly. But he's a trooper. He's down there doing his bit in pit lane for the circuit commentary. Thomas still in 7th place. That's not the result that Sendo Di Enzo Ducati, Enzo Di Clementi, the owner of the team, would have wanted at all for the final round. Hayden has recovered slightly up into 8th place at the moment. Gary Mason has now dropped behind James Ellison. So James Ellison on a privately entered Gentin Yamaha is in front of 2 factory Virgin Mobile bikes in the hands of Gary Mason and Tommy Hill. Hot gossip at the moment is Gary Mason has actually done a deal with Paul Bird for next year. Well, that's news to me. I like that one. Yeah, that's an interesting one. Surprise of the season, definitely. He brought a bit of money to the Virgin Mobile camp. He looks like he's going to be taking some of it across the Monster Mob as the 2nd berth, I'm led to believe at the moment. Now then, I've almost ignored him throughout this commentary. Really, that's very remiss of me. Leon Haslam has joined us here as Smarty goes underneath Emmett and then blocks the gap. Leon Haslam has joined us here in the commentary play. I forgot where we were for a minute then, Leon. So, what about John Reynolds? Doing it all right, Leon?
Yeah, it was perfect. Obviously, he's got to finish in the top 8 and he's perfectly in 3rd. He can just cruise around now, and obviously it's on the roster and we sure want to win the championship.
Now, very quickly, you were supposed to be riding here. Why aren't you? We thought the Renegade Ducati was going out there. Remember the last time you had a bit of a cruise round for practice and you went out and won one of the races.
Yeah, we was here on Friday and we had quite a few things to test, swinging arms and obviously the Pirelli tyres, and it was really raining really hard, and we are actually leaving to Imola on Monday morning, so with a few problems we had on Friday, we decided to leave this weekend and obviously concentrate on the last 2.
So Leon Haslam will be with us all afternoon, and so will Christopher Mullen, who's here as well. So a few World Superbike superstars that are joining us here in commentary. And right now. Chianari 5.1, just in case, a bit academic at the moment. Chianari 5.1 seconds over Michael Rudder in second place. So Rudder is not going to win the championship. John Reynolds is in third place, a further 8, nearly 9 seconds adrift of Rudder. Then it's Scott Smart, who, as you saw earlier, forced his way back up past Emmett for fourth place, but he's 11 seconds now short of Reynolds. Well, it says that on my monitor, although it looks a lot less than that out on the racetrack as they come through Melbourne Loop.
Now you wonder if HM Blunt do have any team orders. Obviously if JR finishes in the top 8 of the championship, it's a foregone conclusion, but if for some reason JR stopped or was out of the race, I wonder if Chianari would let Michael Rutter win.
I cannot believe that anybody would have not already discussed that scenario. I'm sure Neil Tuxworth will be across that scenario, and I think that's the only time you're going to see team orders in motorbike racing. I mean, it won't be that popular, but the fact of the matter is HM Plant Honda were here to win this series. Not just as riders, of course, for the Riders' Championship, but we've got the Manufacturers' Championship, which quite often the Japanese consider more than they do the actual Riders' Championship, and at the moment Honda aren't going to win that either.
Now Rizla Suzuki got that tied up. Their two riders being really strong.
That 15 to 20, Ryoichi Chianari ends his season as he began it, looking very, very good indeed. Chianari still the quickest man, 6 seconds in front of Rutter now. Rutter slipping back even further, but then a further 9 seconds back is Reynolds. In fact, I don't think we've ever seen a British Superbike Championship race for the top 3 this spread out.
Well, you can see Reynolds actually visually closer to Rutter there, and as Leon rightly pointed out, Reynolds over the last few laps, his lap times have been 2 or 3 tenths a lap quicker, and he's pulling Michael Rutter back at the moment.
Well, that'll be a nice little time to rub Michael's nose in it, of course. Good guy, Michael Rutter. It would have been nice to see him win it as well, but you've got to say JR is deserving this year. His comments last time out at Alton Park before we came on air, me and Michael have spent our entire year trying to give the championship to each other, but I don't think JR is in any mood to give it to Michael Rudder today, that's for sure. After that double, his first and only double of the year, John Reynolds really did put himself back on track at Alton Park after a disastrous Cadwell Park. Dumped it in race 1, only finished 8th in race 2 at Cadwell, and 17 points were snatched back by Rutter at Cadwell, but then it all changed again. 10 points to the better was Reynolds over Rutter. Still, that Honda looks so good round here.
Reynolds just pulled 6 tenths back in that last lap.
Difficult to understand quite why that is at this point, unless Michael Rudder is really dejected, but I can't imagine it. He's not the kind of guy to spit his dummy. He's really, you know, he's going to want to be in front of Reynolds whatever the circumstances, even if the championship isn't at stake. He knows that at this particular juncture he is not going to be the champion, and it was a very, very remote chance. All he said was, well, all I've got to do is go out and concentrate on winning the race. Michael Rutter is in second place, Reynolds in third place, spinning it out of Coppice onto the back straight under the Dunlop Bridge.
Well, JR, he can see that target now, and it's always easier following than homing in on someone. But Michael Rutter, maybe tyre problems.
We should actually talk about the Hawk Kawasaki, of course, of where Scott Smart is. He could pinch third place in the championship from the Rizla Suzuki of Yukio Kagayama. Kagayama's had a mare of a day so far, and Kagayama, whoa, don't do that, JR. He's spinning out, not a big drama, of course, more. Well, I'd say showboating because he's not doing that, but he's sitting right over the top of the thing there. It's not going to be a big problem for JR. But 88 there, Scott Smart. Where's he going to go at that? Kagayama still has 322 points, but I tell you what, Smarty is going to close right in on him in this championship, and it's going to be down to Scott Smart to beat Kagayama in race 2 today. So the focus really could change from the lead in the championship, which will be done and dusted if Reynolds finishes where he is at the moment in this race, to the third place battle of the Hawk Kawasaki and of course the other Rizla Suzuki of Yukio Kagayama.
Well, Kagayama was around 20 points in front of Scott Smart. You heard Paul Denning at the top of the show saying that it was really important that Kagayama consolidates his third place in the championship, but of course at the moment Kagayama out of the points in 16th, so Scott Smart would...
I can tell you, Yukio Kagayama started today on 322, Scott Smart on 304, so there were only 18 points in it as they started. Scott Smart is now in 4th place, so what's that, 13 points? So that's a big chunk back. Thank you very much. We'll say Stuart Hicken in Hawk. Oh, look at Emmett, leaving a great big darkie out of Coppice, down onto the back straight. and that's the reason why he wanted to just get the momentum up the inside of Scott Smart. Tell you what though, Smart, he didn't let him have it, he had to fight for it into Fogarty. Smart, he'll try and cut back and get the Kawasaki power on a bit earlier as they go over the crest and down towards the Melbourne Loop, and the Kawasaki just blasted past Emmett. Emmett though straightens it off, he's going to do a block pass right in the middle of the turn. Mate's got set up, and now it's grunting that Duke down to the last turn as we come to the end of lap 18. Emmett into Goddard's corner, finds himself out a little bit wide, but manages to square it off. He'll be on the fat bit of the tyre and launch himself down towards Redgate corner now, the right-hander. So 7/10 of a second, I should say 7 seconds in fact, 7 seconds Chianari has over Rutter. 9 seconds further back is Reynolds. Emmett is another 13 seconds back, but right behind is Scott Smart. In fact, 3 seconds. Oh, I've muddled up my monitor there, Neil. You're going to have to straighten me out a little bit, boy.
Oh yeah, Sean Emmett looks like he's on course for a 4th position here. John Reynolds was making ground, Michael Rutter, but Michael Rutter's reacting. Lap times have stabilised, so John Reynolds 2.3 behind Michael Rutter on the HF Plan Honda.
Smart needs these points though. If he can get 25, 20, 16, 13, he's only on
Still
11
useful
at the moment. They are useful, but it means that he's got to beat Kagayama fair and square in race 2. And I don't think Kagayama will be any moved for giving away the amount of points he has in this first race.
I'm really surprised at Kagayama because he had a good test here at Donington a couple of weeks ago. Did good lap times, did 32s, which was very impressive, but it just hasn't happened for him this weekend. He's failed to find any rhythm. Says he's happy with bike setup, but he hasn't got that many, hasn't been able to put that many laps together, and today again having a nightmare.
There's a right old battle going on in the Superbike Cup for the independent teams as well. James Ellison, well, he was up to something like 9th place originally in front of Mason and Hill. He's now down to 11th place, but John Kirkham has caught him. So John Kirkham, the privateer, has caught right up with James Ellison, the leading and champion privateer at the moment. And Kirkham, of course, will ride a Rizla Suzuki at Castle Combe next weekend. There's an independent Superbike race going on at Castle Combe next weekend. If you're down in the West Country, that's a great place to drop in on. And John Kirkham will ride one of the Rizla Suzukis down there. That's a bit of a prize for him to play with, Neil.
Yeah, that'll be a bit of fun round bumpy Castle Combe, but yeah, fantastic little circuit there. Kagayama now, he's got a couple of points on the board, so that'll pull back Scott Smart a little bit.
And did you recognise the guy who's just overtaken? Number 30, Stefan Mertens from the old World Superbike days. So Stefan Mertens, that's going back to my era, it's a bit of a worry, isn't it? He's still quick though, Neil.
He's still quick, and yeah, top runner in the BMW Boxer Cup this year. Almost won at Donington until he fell off at the last corner, but Stefan Mertens, I think he's 45, 46 years old now. Still looks very young, which is annoying. But
you shouldn't really bring up falling off in the Boxer Cup at Donington, really, should you, Neil?
No. Tried. Trying to forget that one.
Lap 19 of 20. Still Chianari from Rutter. Reynolds still 3rd. Emmett still 4th. Smart, as you can see, wants that place that Emmett's sitting on at the moment. Glenn Richards is still in 6th place from Dean Thomas in 7th. James Hayden is 8th. Gary Mason 9th. And Tommy Hill in 10th. So a trio of Virgin Mobile Yamaha 7th, 8th and 9th. Looking down the order. And Gus Scott is in 17th place at the moment, the 5th place privateer. Gus Scott having a great ride in qualifying in the wet. Gus Scott just proving if he had the right motorcycle underneath him, he's... Oh, Chianari! He is scary the way he backs things in, isn't he?
He loves to ride like that, and he'll do it lap after lap. And Friday in the wet, he did fall off once, but he was absolutely unbelievable in the wet. The way he was sliding that bike into the corners and then back out on the power.
Reynolds drops his knee in the dirt through the right-hander of Redgate onto Hollywood, and then Craner curves. John Reynolds on the final lap. He is less than a couple of miles away from being the 2004 Think British Superbike champion. It's been a hard-fought year. Broken collarbone. Thruxton, if you remember that huge crash he had when he clipped the rear end of Gregorio Lavia. Paul Denning, he is just keeping his fingers crossed, legs crossed, and anything else he can cross, because the year 2000 was the last time this team came close. The last time a Suzuki won a big championship in this country, I think, was going back to the late 80s, early 90s, 91 perhaps, James Whittam. And you've really got to say it's been a long time coming. In fact, you've got to look back even further when Honda actually won the last Premier class here as well. So both these teams desperately wanted to win at this level. But just 2 corners then, and it will be John Reynolds, the Think British Superbike champion. He could almost get off and push it to the flag now and win this series. Chianari is almost there. A small prayer, hard work, dedication and passion.
I reckon he's welling up.
Team.
He's welling up now, Paul Denning.
Yeah, different reason for 2000. He was crying in 2000 into his beer at the end of the day. This time he is going to be celebrating by buying them for everybody in the paddock. Michael Rutter comes to the line. He will congratulate John Reynolds. Chianari the winner. A sign of relief. Paul Denning will now go and retire to the smallest room in the track because, no doubt, we're going to have a burnout from JR.
No, some flags organised, I think. I see Simon Green run down there with a flag. First to congratulate him.
John Reynolds then is the 2004 Think British Superbike champion. Then at the result, Ryoichi Chianari, a new lap record and a very dominant ride from him on the HM Plant Honda in front of his teammate Michael Rutter. The chance of a championship has gone for Rutter. He's still yet to win his first British Superbike championship. John Reynolds is the champion with that third place. Scott Smart has put himself within 7 points of taking third place in the series. Gary Mason, Tommy Hill in front of James Ellison, still the best of the privateers. John Kirkham on the Suzuki, not able quite to get into contact with James Ellison, but it was close. And the championship. Reynolds is the champion. Michael Rutter will finish in second place, but Kagayama, 7 points. He's got to watch out for Scott Smart. Scott Smart is looking to ruin that first and third place as the Rizla Suzukis may finish the